Hey friends, today it's time to do some lawn maintenance. It's getting late in the summer, we're in the middle of September, and it's almost time for us not to have to cut the grass anymore. And that's a great time to do some maintenance that will help the lawn be especially healthy next season. So yeah, we're not done with cutting the grass yet, but that's okay. This is a cool day, so it's a good day to be out working in the yard, and it's a great time to do some aerating and seeding and fertilizing. This will allow the grass to get established over the winter time, so it'll come back nice and strong next spring. Over time, your lawn can get compact from people walking on it and even from cutting the grass. More and more dead grass is put down, which is good for the soil because it gives fertilizer to the soil and that makes the grass grow better. But as you ride the lawnmower over it or push the lawnmower over it or walk over it, it begins to compact the soil and it makes it harder for the roots of the grass to grow and be strong. So one thing that you can do to help with that is aerate your lawn. And it seems counterintuitive. What aeration does is actually uses spikes to make holes and sort of tear up your lawn a little bit. Initially, it actually makes your lawn look bad because it's tearing it up. But what it's doing is actually creating places in the soil where air and water and nutrients can get down deeper into the ground, and it makes for a healthier lawn overall. So once or twice a year, I like to aerate my lawn. Two primary methods for aerating your lawn are a spike aerator or a plug aerator. I prefer to use a plug aerator. A spike aerator just punches holes down in the soil. I used one time and it just wasn't that effective. It was hard to get it to drive down into the soil, and it wasn't as effective. But the plug aerator actually not only punches a hole in the ground, but it actually pulls out a plug of soil from the ground and puts it out on the surface of the soil. So we're actually being more effective. And if you use a heavy weight on your plug aerator, it will actually get down into the soil, even if the soil is very compact, as mine typically is. So we can see here the plug aerator. These little plugs go down into the soil. You can see how it's actually got a plug of dirt in it right now. Here's one here. Pull that plug out. So what we're doing here is we're driving this plug down into the soil, and then it's going to grab a plug of soil just like that. And as these spikes or plugs spin, it actually brings those plugs out to the surface of the soil, leaving a hole in the ground where water and fertilizer and seeds and all kinds of nutrients can get down into the soil, and air as well, to help make the roots of the lawn healthier. Now, the way this plug aerator works is you simply pull it with your lawnmower. It's hooked to the back with a simple hitch, a pin hitch. It takes a lot of pressure to push those spikes down into the grass. And that's why we will use some kind of a weight on top of this tray. A lot of people use cinder blocks, but what I found works best, I had an old acetylene tank that was empty and no longer could be refilled. The tank was too old, and so I simply used a ratchet strap to strap it down on top of that tray, and that thing's heavy, and that causes quite a bit of pressure. So as we pull this lever down, that puts the spikes right into the soil. And as we pull this with the lawnmower, it will actually cause those spikes to roll on the surface of the soil, pulling out plugs and aerating the soil. I need to cut my grass, and so I'm going to be aerating my grass and cutting it at the same time. Since I'm pulling a heavy load and it can be kind of bumpy, I'm not going to cut my grass at the same speed that I would normally cut it. I'm probably going to cut it at half the speed that I would normally go. I'll be going slow, and it'll take a lot longer to cut the grass today, but I'm going to be accomplishing two things at once. We'll be cutting the grass, and we'll also be aerating the soil. All right, now that I've got the grass all cut and aerated, it's time to put down some fresh seed. So we're just going to overseed the lawn here, and I'm using a mix that has grass seed in it, that is a mixture of seeds that is good to grow in sun and in shade, because I have a variety of sunny and shady spots in my lawn. Also, this is grass seed that is resistant to drought and hot, dry conditions, because that's something that we deal with a lot here. I especially seem to have trouble getting grass to grow under this tree, because that spot gets a lot of shade, and also I think what happens is that the roots of the tree suck all of the moisture out of the lawn. The soil stays pretty dry. Even when it gets a good rain or good watering, the water doesn't stay around for very long. This is a big tree, a very thirsty tree, and the roots of this tree spread out quite a bit around this tree trunk. So it uses a lot of water, and that doesn't leave much for the grass. So this is something I really have to tend with and nurture to try to keep grass growing under this area. I've had some moss start to take root and grow here, and I'm absolutely fine with that. Hey, nothing wrong with moss in my book. Now, some people don't like moss in their lawn, but I don't really care. As long as it's green and not muddy, it's fine with me. I'm not concerned with trying to get a beautiful country club lawn growing here in my yard. I live out in the country, and my main concern is that I have grass down, some kind of green growth on the ground. I don't want mud out here in the lawn. So that just makes for a mess. We had a lot of muddy spots when we first moved here, and your feet get all muddy, and then you go inside and it's just a mess. So I like to have grass down where it keeps the mud from really growing. So I just work hard every year with this lawn to make sure that it maintains a healthy grass. And to me, it really doesn't matter what kind of grass it is, as long as it's healthy and it's growing and it takes care of itself. So we're going to go ahead and spread our grass seed mixture, and within this grass seed mixture, it already has fertilizer in it, so we won't even have to fertilize where we're putting down seed. However, I will spread some fertilizer in the areas where I'm not putting grass seed. Now, this particular Ace Sun and Shade Lawn Seed Mix says that it will cover 400 square feet of new lawn or 800 square feet of existing lawn. So you can do the calculations on how much area you have to spread, and this whole bag will cover 800 square feet. So that's going to be somewhere close to about 30 square feet by 30 square feet. A little bit less than that, but that should be enough to cover all of this area under this tree. I just make sure I use up all the seed in this area, this 800 square foot area. Another way to do it is a lot of bags will have a chart on the back, and it will tell you the setting if you're using a lawn spreader. Okay, and so your lawn spreader will have a little dial on it that tells you like what setting it is, and then the bag has a setting it says to put it on. For instance, if you're using a Scott handheld spreader and you're doing a new lawn, you want to use a setting for 3 and go over the lawn twice. Or if you're overseeding, you want to use setting of 2. And then you can see the readings for all of the different spreaders that you might use. But I know that this particular bag is going to cover 800 square feet. And so I'm just going to set it on a kind of a low setting so that it spreads it out kind of thinly. And I'll just keep going around and around and around in this area until I've spread it all. And you could also spread this by hand if you don't have a spreader. Again, you just know how much area that bag of seed is going to cover, and then you spread that evenly across that area. And the way I would do that is just kind of evenly spread it out by hand. But since I have a spreader, I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm going to use it on my lowest setting, and you just squeeze the handle as you roll it, and it spreads the seed evenly. Once you've got your grass seed sprinkled in, you could use a rake to sort of rake it into the grass and help work the seed down into the soil as much as possible. And then you want to give it a good watering, maybe 30 or 40 minutes with your sprinkler system. You're going to want to keep watering your grass until it gets established, until the roots get up and growing and it's getting to grow. Now, if you're getting rain, maybe a half an inch to an inch a week, then you won't need to water it. But I always like to water it the very first thing when I get it in. And then once the grass is taking root and it's good and sprouted and it's getting established, it will get roots growing down in the soil and you won't need to water it as much. James chapter 1 verses 2 through 4 says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing." You know, aerating your lawn is kind of counterintuitive. You're tearing up your lawn and punching holes and stirring up the soil, and it makes your lawn actually look worse initially. But in the long run, it's going to make your lawn healthier. And there's a principle that's true in life for us as well. Nobody likes to go through hard times. Nobody likes to have trials and struggles. But God takes those trials that we face and He uses them to increase our endurance, to test our faith, and to help us to trust Him more. Trials and difficulties build endurance and build character. Same way exercise builds your muscles. We need spiritual muscles in this lifetime. And so God allows struggles to come our way. They can be an occasion for joy, because as we handle our troubles and increase our faith in God and trust Him to take care of us through our trials, our life and our spiritual life gets better, and we get stronger. We grow closer to God, and that is a good thing. So be thankful for the trials that you face and use them as an occasion to trust in the Lord even more. Let's get out there and let's grow and be fruitful.